Each week we do our top 5. It's up on our social media at Jon-Bernard K on Instagram and TikTok. And you can also catch our tips and top 5s on Pickle Studios and at Picklebet over on Instagram. But Jaden, what's our top 5 for the week?
Top 5 for the week is the biggest Origin omissions.
That's right. So the top 5 players to miss Origin selection this year. Number 5, I'm going to go with Dane GAGAI.
Big omission.
Why I say that is because I don't know how the Hammer is going to go up against a Latrell Mitchell. Dane GAGAI has consistently stepped up when it comes to Origin level. And are there any other centers, out-and-out centers in the game that can defend against a Latrell, defend against a Turbo? I mean, Dane GAGAI steps up during Origin all the time, and he hasn't let them down. And they've just bit the bullet and go, we're gonna try and blood a young guy.
The thing is, Queensland are known for picking strictly on loyalty. They won that 8 series in a row on picking the same team, giving players that weren't in form at club level a chance at Origin.
Pick and stick.
Dane GAGAI hasn't been in great form this year, it's no secret. But when he does play Origin, he's known to lift. And you think coming off a win, an Origin series win, they would try and give loyalty to players that won it last year. But Billy Slater is not about that.
GAGAI's been part of the last 8 teams for Queensland.
Wow.
So, and he's been a consistent, strong centre at Origin, whether it be taking an intercept or taking a good carry. So I think he's unlucky.
How often did you see the same centres play for Queensland? Will Chambers, Brent Tate was always consistently picked. Greg Inglis, Darius Boyd, where the Dragons were coming last and he was playing shit as a fullback, he would get picked on the wing consistently.
I think he's got one of the best try-scoring records in Origin.
In Origin history. So a surprise move there from Billy Slater.
12 tries in 21 games.
Yeah, wow. Who do you have for number 4?
At number 4, I'm going with CAPEWELL, another Queenslander who was unlucky not to be selected. He's had a couple good Origins. I mean, the 2020 Origin where he filled in at centre, second row. Even last year, he's a quality second rower. I mean, I think David Fafita is a better player, but even like a bench spot for CAPEWELL, you just think what he's doing with the Brisbane Boys now, they're one of the top teams in the NRL, I just think he's another unlucky player not to make it.
I think he did enough last year as well to kind of cement his spot in the team, but I mean, Fafita's in great form. I think a second rower that was hard done by and probably would have been my number 4 is Haumole Olakau'atu. I think he's the best second rower in the comp.
I mean, he was in our projected Origin lineups and he was the most damaging player in the NRL for Manly. I think every time he got the ball, he's making 10 to 15 metres each run, carrying 4 or 5 guys with him.
Defensively, he's extremely strong as well. I'm surprised he didn't maybe sneak in a bench spot or even an 18th, 19th man.
I think Tyson Frizzell, yes, he's safe and he's a good player.
And Frizzell's been there before.
But I feel like Olakau'atu just offers so much more than Frizzell. He's more damaging. And frankly, he's just scarier.
I think
intimidation factor would have been a big key in picking Olakau'atu.
I think Freddie would have spoken to a few boys before the last round and said, "Hey mate, the spot's yours if you go out and prove it this week." Haumole's stats last week: 23 of 28 tackles, 6 runs, and 2 penalties conceded. So he didn't have his best game against Canberra.
If he had gone on like a Siffer Talakai run, he probably gets picked. No, you're 100% right. That could be a massive factor.
And people called out his errors and maybe penalties that he gives away, which is another thing for TPJ.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Look at how TPJ went in terms of the round before Origin for 220 metres, and he was a menace. 60 minutes.
Am I allowed to say TPJ, or do I know him that well?
Yeah, I think we're on nickname basis with Davida Pangai. Let's call him TPJ. We can say that. Number 3, I'm going with Campbell Graham. Stretch. Now, I think he was a bit hard done by. Again, one of the informed centres of the comp. He's playing career best footy for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. If the Fox isn't fit and healthy by one more round, Campbell Graham is the winger in the team.
That's why I don't think he's not a snub. It's more just unlucky that other players were healthy.
And it's not like he can have a bench spot. He was named 18th man. I think Souths may have been a little bit filthy. They don't want him being 18th man and not being able to play at club level for the 2 points. So he withdrew from the team, and he'll play this weekend for Souths.
He'll play for Rabbits, but the thing is with Campbell Graham, he hasn't played Origin before, so it's different to Dane GAGAI, where he's done it before. He's not really that big of an omission because Ado Carr got dropped last year and played out of his skin and he's earned his jersey back. Tom Trbojevic, same again. Had a great game against Canberra on the weekend and earned his jersey, and he made selectors not want to not pick him.
Well, so Campbell Graham only gets in if someone's injured and Tedesco retires down the line, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you can't... When you've got generational players ahead of you, it's just unlucky. The same thing happened to Queensland players when they were going on their run, or Ben Barber couldn't get a run. Who else for, I think, the Cowboys? Matt Bowen couldn't get a run.
Yeah, okay.
It just happens.
Let's say, God forbid, Latrell Mitchell starts playing career worst footy, and same as Tom Trbojevic, can't run on his hamstring anymore. Campbell Graham just slots straight in.
Bar injury, you're picking Latrell and Turbo. If they're available, based on their resumes and what their potential can be, Campbell Graham will never get selected.
Campbell
at centre.
Graham's second leading try scorer in the NRL this year for a centre. Like it's an
Exactly.
impressive feat.
Look,
Very hard done by, and he's a great last tackle option as well.
They don't kick to him enough, Souths.
and he's very good defensively as well.
Strong defensive.
Well, I
centre.
think I've had some people call that out. They've
Yeah.
said that he's actually not that good defensively. He misses a lot of tackles.
Yeah, they're Chris Georges, Matt George, the big Roosters fans.
Yeah.
A little bit
I
biased.
know. They've just gone off stats.
Okay,
I believe the stats.
Okay, who do you have as your number 2 biggest snub?
Number 2, I'm going with Damien Cook. You spoke about him before. I thought he was a shoo-in at the least for a number 14 jersey. They had him and Coruscant alternate last year and the year before. You think, okay, South Sydney, top of the ladder. He's in career best form, Damien Cook. You think he'd at least be ahead of Opi Coruscant at the least. Him not getting the 14 jersey, I think, is one of the biggest snubs ever. I don't know how it's like that number 1.
Brandy tried to justify it by saying we don't want to play with 2 hookers, and we gave the nod to Api Coruscant. Queensland consistently pick 2 hookers because they know the pace of Origin. It's fast-paced, it's hard-hitting. You need that second hooker off the bench. I think that's where New South Wales are going to go wrong in game 1. To pick Nico Hines at 14 to try, you're going to play him at 5'8"? Where are you going to... What if Nico Hines doesn't even get on? What if he plays 6 minutes? It's a waste of a spot. That spot's better off going to Damien Cook. And I feel like this week with South, he's going to show why they missed out.
And you look at last year, or even years before, when Harry Grant comes on when the middle's tired, that's when he excels. That's why, even though he starts at 9 for Melbourne, and he's probably the best hooker in the comp, they bring him off the bench because that's where he excels the most. Damien Cook would be similar. Bring him off the bench when the Queensland forwards are tired. Get the New South Wales boys on a roll-on. I mean, I think Fittler, you're an idiot.
And what's Api Coruscant's best beach sprint time? Do we know? Does anyone know?
We learnt the hard way last year in game 1 with 1 hooker, and game 2, game 3 they fixed it by picking 2 hookers. Like game 1 we picked Stephen Crichton as our 14, and I feel as if Nico Hines is going to have that same type of role playing because if Nico Hines comes on at 9, it is disgusting coaching.
Well, but James Graham came out and said, if you're picking a 14, why are you picking Nico Hines? Wouldn't Matt Burton be a better 14 who can cover centre? If Teddy goes down, you could put Latrell to fullback. Matt Burton straight in the centre. If a 5'8" goes down, Matt Burton can play there.
It's like
who's bigger and can play in the middle? Matt Burton. And he's played there previously. He played last year and he's done the job there in New South Wales. Nico Hines as a 14, yes, he did it well at club level with Melbourne, but he's played the last 2 years as a 7. I just don't think the pick makes sense, and I think that's valid.
Fittler made a mistake not starting Nico Hines, and I think he just wanted to save face by not selecting him at all.
Well, if you lose your job because you lose this game and it comes down to that pick, you deserve it. If you make the same mistake by picking 1 hooker and a 14 that's probably not the right pick as a 14, you deserve to get sacked. And we'll see at the end of the day. I don't know.
If Nico Hines gets 6 to 10 minutes this game,
It's a waste.
but New South Wales win the game, you're picking him for game 2.
You have to,
can't.
yeah,
No,
you
you
have to.
can't. No, you pick a forward in case.
Nah, you don't change a winning team.
Yes, you do.
They wouldn't. I guarantee you they wouldn't.
If you're paying him less than 10 minutes, that's Jacob Arthur time.
Okay, well, let's go to number 1. Number 1 biggest snub for Origin is Kalen Ponga. We touched on it earlier. This, again, what he did last year for Queensland, winning game 3, he was the player of the series for Queensland. It is the biggest snub. He's healthy, he's ready to go. He's going to be playing for Newcastle this week. Reece Walsh, yes, is the best fullback in the comp and he's playing the best footy as a fullback. But I feel like Kalen Ponga has done enough to cement himself as the Queensland fullback so long as he's healthy.
We said this in the lead up to team list being released. Kalen Ponga, yes, he had the head knock issues, and Reece Walsh was the best player in the NRL. But strictly what Kalen Ponga did in Game 3 last year, he warranted selection. Billy Slater should have, of all people, should know the Queensland way. Pick players that have performed well and done the job. Kalen Ponga is easily the most unlucky player. I know I said Damien Cook was, but Kalen Ponga, I think will he be in the team for game 2 or 3?
Based on just teams, I'm weighing up team versus team. New South Wales win game 1. Latrell and the centres and our outside backs will be too strong. And they'll have mass changes in the Queensland team. Ponga comes back in. Felice Kafusi will come back in.
Xavier Coates
probably Xavier Coates. They probably strengthen the bench up a little bit more. I think that's the way it's going to go down.
An honourable mention, Xavier Coates. I thought he was a shoo-in as well, but Talangi got the nod over him.
Well, there we go. That's our top 5 biggest mishaps for Origin selections this week.